Go ahead and get started here. 6.0 reconvene open session, procedural business, 5:30 p.m. 6.1 call to order. The Board of Trustees are hereby reconvening open session at 5:37 p.m. 6.2 roll call. Trustees to identify themselves by first and last name to formally establish a quorum. Rudy Zarate, trustee area 5, Running Springs, Arrowverry Lake, Green Valley Lake.
Dana Ridland, area 2. Cindy Gardner, trustee area 3. Almost forgot again.
Dr. William Mellinger, trustee area 1.
We have our quorum this evening. I'll note for the minutes that trustee Kraft is not able to join us this evening. He's out of state. With that, we'll move on to 7.0 closed session report. 7.1 announcement of reportable actions taken during closed session. The board. I skipped one. I apologize. I'll move on to 6.3. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance led by our new student board representative, Ethan Smith.
Behind you. There it is. How do I do this? Ready? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. With that, now we get to move to 7.0 closed session report and 7.1 announcement of reportable actions taken during closed session. The board voted to approve the request for readmission for expulsion case number 01-22/23. Moving on to 8.0 public testimony. 8.1 public comment period for items listed on this agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. The public comment period is administered by state law and is the point in the meeting set aside for members of the public to share their opinions with the board. Open meeting laws do not permit the board to engage in dialogue or answer questions. Though it may not take action on non-agenda issues raised at the public comment period, the board, for example, may refer any matter to the superintendent for review or take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Protocols for speakers. Any person who wishes to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter of their jurisdiction must complete a speaker's form and submit it to the executive secretary to the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda item. The board limits the total time for public input on each item to 20 minutes. Speakers who have complaints against board members or staff are encouraged to seek resolution to those complaints by using the Room of the World Unified School District written complaint procedure rather than orally addressing them at a meeting. The board will not respond to such comments until the applicable complaint procedure, BP/AR 1312.1, has been followed and has reached the board level. Where a complaint concerns a district employee identifiable by name, position, or other facts, the board cannot respond until proper written notice has been given to the employee pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. Decorum. The governing board is interested in the ideas and opinions of all stakeholders and endeavors to incorporate community views into its deliberations and decisions. At the same time, it must be able to conduct its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323 and Government Code Section 54957.9, audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting. Open meeting laws do not confer any privilege or protection for expression beyond that otherwise provided by law. The public's understanding and cooperation are appreciated. With the legalese out of the way, we'll move on to 8.2 public comments. The first one we have is from Carol Kinzel, representing RIM Ed Foundation. Topic: RIM Educational Foundation. You may come up and there is a button at the front that will turn red once you press it, and you'll be able to see your timer right in front of you.
Wait, start the timer.
Watch it. Before you leave, it's downstairs.
Oh, that's great.
Wait, but they are downstairs by the doors as you come in. There's a whole bunch of them. And what's important is that there are phone numbers and email addresses in here for all the different agencies. Thank you. And so that's not part of my 3 minutes. but that's why I haven't pushed the button yet. But this is what I showed everybody. It's downstairs.
Why is it the back? It's not for us, it's more for.
It's more for the folks over there.
Bring a microphone.
It is downstairs in by the office, by the front doors after you walk in, there is this wonderful publication, Living with Wildflower, very apropos for now, in the Inland Empire. Are you ready? What is so good about this publication, and it has nothing to do with me, but what's so good about this publication is that it has phone numbers and email addresses for all the different agencies. It tells you what to do, and I'm showing it for the folks back there again. It tells you what to do, where to go, how to go about doing it, and who to contact. They are downstairs. I guess it's put out by FireSafeNow, capital NOW.org. FireSafe, capital NOW.org is what it says on the back. So I'm assuming that they put it out. It is brought to you by Fire Safe Council from our area here. This publication is brought to you by Mountain Rim Fire Safe Council. So thank you very much, Mountain Rim Fire Safe Council. Wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Secondly, and the reason why I have my 3 minutes and we can go now. Room Educational Foundation, I am on the board, and I want to thank you for allowing us to have a table at all of the back to school nights. It was marvelous seeing everybody, talking to people, having parents sign up for more information from Room Educational Foundation. We were handing out the 2 brochures, one on everything CTE or ROP for us old folks, everything CTE and everything from Room Educational Foundation that we do for the district. I only had one of these, but I had enough of these and you 3 are sharing, to put one out for each one. We are going to have a membership drive. It was going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. We're postponing it. We are doing a membership drive for all of you, for teachers, for parents, for everybody in the district, to help us earn our funds that we give back to the school district. Everything goes back to the school district. In fact, I was up at CHE and they were talking about the tricycles that were bought for the little kids up at CHE through a grant that Rim Educational Foundation was able to get a hold of to buy the tricycles for the kids up at CHE. We have earned thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars through grants and buy the things that are outside of this table. Everything that's blue, the district does, but all of the edging around here that is brown, that stuff that is things that the state money cannot buy. That's where Room Educational Foundation steps in. We buy all of this extra stuff, obviously not literally, but figuratively. We buy this extra stuff that helps support everything that goes on the blue area of the district. And so I wanted to let everybody know that we will be having a membership drive, different levels of membership. And for becoming a member, you too will get a easily to be displayed bumper sticker that says Room Educational Foundation 23-24. So you can be of the elite group, 24-25 actually. You will be of the elite group that has this bumper sticker that we can display to everybody for the fact that we are part of Room Educational Foundation. And that will be coming up in the next weeks after all of this gets taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have 22 to spare.
Oh, sorry.
Mine.
With that, we'll move on to our next speaker, Jamie Stein, representing the parent. Topic, game cancellation. Make sure the red dot is showing on your microphone. And you can begin whenever you'd like.
I don't see a red dot.
Oh, press the button there. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, you did receive an email from me earlier today. I am a parent of an athlete at the high school. He is a football player. We are currently evacuated from our home. He's been given the opportunity to go to optional practices and he's been attending. We've been through several natural disasters now. We're racking them up, earning our stripes. And when you see what the effects of our kids not being able to participate in normalcy and routine, the effects that it has on their mental health, being isolated, and then they have an opportunity to continue to participate in sports. It's a pretty amazing thing as a parent. And I am here to ask you to reconsider the decision as far as from my understanding, that they will not be able to participate in the game tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow, I guess. So I think there's so many opportunities. There's something that's called post-traumatic growth. We hear a lot about post-traumatic stress disorder, but there's opportunities for growth in the things that we're going through. And we have adults that are willing to give their time to cultivate that environment. We have kids that are learning how to be resilient, learning how to still show up when life around them is completely crazy. So I just am here and asking that you also take into consideration that there are a lot of mental health benefits to play. Play is severely underrated. I remember when Room Family Services had that 0 to 5 program, and they taught you that babies play by like putting things in their mouth and rolling, or they learn by playing. And somehow we think that after each 5, we don't learn by playing. That is not true. Get on the golf course, go play a sport. You all know, like, we learn, we adapt, we change, right? We see things that we need to work on when we play as adults. So I'm coming to you asking that my kid be, and our school district be able to participate, and know that this is science backed. This isn't an emotional plea. But it is science backed. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jamie. With that, I'll actually refer this matter to our superintendent, who can respond to us referring that matter to him.
So we do know that the fire has caused trauma to our students and staff and our families. And we understand that communication is valuable, and we pride ourselves on communicating to our families in times of crisis. I've done preliminary investigation as to kind of what were the reasons why the communication did not go out to families when the decision was made. And we could have addressed this together earlier in the week. Be that as it may. I also had a discussion with your principal, Mr. Williamson. He has been an advocate for the students in his school, and particularly the student athletes and their needs. In the best interest of students, we did not communicate. And so therefore, in the best interest of students, we have decided to reconsider and allow the game to proceed. We will continue to assess the safety of our students and staff in these trying times, but understand we have reconsidered.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Dr. Sevillano. And I would like to thank everyone who's taken time to show up today. And I know it's trying times. I'm myself evacuated, and it's quite an effort to come out here. So we'll continue on. We have next up Gil Flores, representing the parent of student athlete. Topic: cancellation of high school athletes. You may come up. It looks like the speaker's already on, so you can. It's ready to go for you when you are.
Thank you. So I sent an email to all of you earlier, and I'm glad that the district's taken a position on reconsidering the evaluation. So given in light with Dr. Sevillano's announcement, I'm just really pleased that the district has come together and communicated that part and felt the needs of our students and athletes and parents. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Next up, we have Tammy, and you'll have to help me with your last name here.
Pascarella.
Pascarella, thank you. Representing RIN football. Topics: football game on Friday, expectations.
Thank you. My name is Tammy Pascarella, and I've been a community member for a very long time. And I just want to say thank you very much for listening to us. And man, does it go a long way that you guys supported us, heard us, took action, and we are forever grateful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Pascal, representing Penn.
Yeah, again, I'm good. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. And the community thanks you too. And let's go Rim Pride.
We have Joe Gerard representing Rim Football. Topic, football game cancellation.
No, you turned it off. Just start talking. There we go. First of all, I want to say thank you for reconsidering our request to play the games tomorrow. I'm a parent of 2 Rim athletes, a volleyball player and a football player. I'm an alumni. I've been here for a long time. And I've watched us go through these tragedies in 03, 07, the COVID pandemic, and the blizzard. And RIM has led the way in the region. RIM of the World Unified School District has led the way. We are the model by which other districts follow. So I commend you and I thank you, and I am very grateful for all that you guys do for our students. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we have our last comment card from Ryan Wiesberg representing athletes. Topic, sports.
Mike's on. I won't take long. Good evening, all of you. I'm going to read just a little bit on this topic. When I found out the news about possible cancellations that were taking place, I was actually sitting in the middle of a state CIF committee meeting. I was asked over the summer by the CIF Southern Section Commissioner to sit on a strategic priorities committee at the state level. That committee is made up of several individuals throughout the state with the idea of coming together, collaborating at a statewide level, and solving some of the problems that we face. All I wanted to talk about today was I think it's an amazing opportunity if we want to model ourselves as a district and create a strategic committee that looks at some of these things that we face and possibly put together a group of valued ROWUSD employees, parents, students, and try and, get ahead and have a plan that we can roll out a little easier. Outside of that, enjoy your evening. I'll get out of your hair.
Thank you very much. We have 8.3 RIM Teachers Association RTA representative and California School Employees Association CSEA representative. We'll start with RTA. We have a representative for RTA at this time. Madam President.
Good evening. I hope everyone is safe and well, both physically and mentally. We're facing yet another disaster together. Thank you for keeping student and staff safety and health, mental and physical, the top priority. The uncertainty of the situation causes a lot of anxiety for everyone. Thank you for letting everyone know that we were having the week off instead of doing it day by day. We did have people that were hesitating to evacuate because they didn't know if they had to go to work or not. So that does help people with the stress and helps people to know it's okay to evacuate. Hopefully, if this lingers longer, we'll get that same kind of warning that it's going to be several days instead of just one day at a time. We'll face this together. We know that there's new ed code and plans to be made and new decisions and discussions to be held. And there's timelines. We hope that all stakeholders are going to be involved in making those decisions. And that's all I have tonight. So thank you and stay well.
With that, we'll move on to our CSEA representative. Madam President.
Okay.
Good to be here. It's good to see you. I appreciate you. It's just too bad that we're getting so experienced with emergency and disasters. It's getting kind of tiring, but it just proves how resilient we are. I know we're gonna have to be thinking outside the box, for the upcoming weeks, but I want you to know that, we as CSEA appreciate the protections that you've put in place. That, you know, the employees continue to be paid. They don't have to worry about, you know, the next paycheck. I reached out to our members and a good handful are off the mountain and, you know, concerned about the uncertainty of things, but we do feel very blessed to be safe. We appreciate the communication that comes from you and asking the questions. We appreciate that. So keep up the good work and we're here, we're resilient, many of us have been through this before, so it shows that we got your back and we appreciate that you've got our back. Thank you.
Very much. With that, we'll move on to 9.0, our public hearing. 9.1, procedures for the public hearing. Public hearings are required on specific items such as the local control accountability plan and budgets. Persons who wish to address the governing board on a matter set for a public hearing must complete a speaker's form and submit it to the executive secretary to the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. Once the board president opens the public hearing, individual speakers are then permitted up to 5 minutes to support, oppose, or otherwise offer an opinion on the issue. The board limits the total time for public input to 20 minutes. When public input is concluded, the board president will close the hearing. And with that, we have our 9.2 educational services, approval of the public hearing for the pupil textbook sufficiency and instructional materials compliance for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Fiscal impact is $35,000. Budget source lottery instructional materials. 2.A, call the public hearing to order. Do we have a motion to open that hearing?
So moved.
Second.
First from Dr. Mellinger, second from Ms. Cardinal. With that, I'll go ahead and call for the vote here. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 4-0. To 9.2B, call the our public hearing is called to order. I'll start with that at 5:59 p.m. And it looks like we do not have any public comments submitted for this public hearing. So with that, I will call for under 9.2B, call public hearing to close. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
No?
Second.
Any discussion? That'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 4-0. The public hearing is hereby closed at 6:00 p.m. With that, we'll move on to 9.3, business services, approval to open and conduct a public hearing to discuss an extension of the California Department of Education waiver for the sale of surplus real property, Valley of Enchantment, vacant land, fiscal impact, none. 9.3A, call public hearing to order. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Second.
Any discussion? Let's go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any slips?
No.
Okay.
I'll go for that
Oh,
order.
that's
Sorry.
right. Sorry, I went out of order.
That's all right.
Okay,
Aye.
sorry. I
Aye.
said aye,
There
yay.
we go. Any opposed?
Back on track.
Motion carries unanimously 4-0. With that, our public hearing is called to order at 6:01 p.m. And again, we have no comments submitted for this public hearing. So with that, we'll move on to 9.3B, call public hearing to close. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Yeah.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. We'll call for a vote on this. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 4-0. The public hearing is hereby closed at 6:01 p.m. 10.0, reports and presentations. At 10.1, governing board members' reports. I'll start us off this evening and just Yeah, I want to thank everyone who did make some time to come out here. I know some of you are evacuated from your homes and one, making time to email the board and make your voices heard, and two, being able to attend takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time out of your day. So I just want to express appreciation for coming out and making your voices heard. For every email that I received today, just know that I will respond to it. Today's just been a little busy beforehand, but I will make sure to respond to all of those emails. Just hoping for the best for our mountain communities. I know that we are a very strong community. After every disaster, it seems that we get stronger. Our resolve does not waver at all, and that's it's really encouraging to see. It's encouraging to see how trusting and how communal we are. People are posting on Facebook asking for help and receiving that help. I need to get medication from, Lake Arrowhead. Could somebody meet me at Sky Park? Absolutely, within minutes, somebody will post and say, I'll go now and meet you. It's incredible to see that. This is the third time in my life that I've been under an evacuation order. So it doesn't get easier anytime. I think it only gets harder. So I just want to acknowledge the situation that we're in. I won't take up too much more time. I'll just say that our district has been in close contact with officials. I've been in direct contact with our state senator, ROWUSD about our situation and about our district's needs, not just now, but when it comes to cleanup and when it comes to a point where we can return and then repopulate. We are in close communications. Dr. Sevillano is part of the Office of Emergency Management protocol. So for all future, emergencies that we face, disasters that we face, know that we have MOUs in place with Red Cross, with other agencies. We make our facilities available for emergency evacuation centers. We work very closely at each of those stages. So even if you might not see it, just know that we are continuously in contact. So I'm very thankful to Dr. Sevillano for providing the board frequent updates. I'm in communication with him multiple times a day throughout this disaster. And it's just, please know that we are moving forward as much as we can, considering as much as we can as well. What does return to schools look like? Do we likely need a non-attendance day to make sure that we could prepare school sites to make sure that they're safe and free of ash and there's no damage so that we can welcome students back safely. So we will continue to communicate those plans out. So with that, I'll wish everyone a good evening and pass it down the line here to Kim.
Good evening. Kind of sucks to follow Jordan because he's so eloquent, but here I go. I echo his appreciation for the emails and also for people showing up. We don't know what we don't know sometimes, and sometimes we are incredibly informed. I do know that as far as what's planned for tomorrow, what's been going on, I know that there's a lot of folks who have been involved who really want to make sure that our kids are taken care of. And it is, my kids played sports, I played sports, I play sports. And to just appreciate what Jamie had to say in terms of the mental component to it, the mental health component to it, being a part of that community and being able to also take your mind off of what's happening right now and being able to immerse yourself in something bigger. It's healthy. And at this point, I think for a lot of us, it's necessary. And we also don't want to be cavalier about the situations we might be putting our children into. So it's one of those things that it's really, as a parent, you continually have to weigh that. And in some ways, when you are in a position to be responsible for so many individuals, it can be quite a lot to consider. So with that, I do definitely majorly appreciate Mr. Willemse's thoughtfulness and his care and his level of responsibility and his listening and everything. So I just want to convey that, make sure that you know that there should be appreciation, major appreciation sent his way. Evacuating sucks. I'm fortunate right now not to have to. Lived in Running Springs. Our house there that we still own, the fire came through Smiley Park and almost got into Enchanted. And we're not even living there right now, and it is terrifying to watch all of that and have your eyes glued to watch duty and to be reading all those things in Facebook and being kind of dismissive while you're reading it, but at the same time, kind of clinging to that information. So nobody is alone with all of this. And I love how our greater community comes together. We do it for our kids, we do it for ourselves, and it's very special. And I just very much appreciate it. Looking at the days ahead, weeks ahead, hopefully we can get past the fire and get back home and start going into business as usual. Air quality is going to be a concern. And so we are going to be out in not the safest conditions with the air that we breathe. The athletics are going to be important. The activity is going to be important. But as a district, our facilities don't have air conditioning. And we have this air around us that may not be the healthiest for all of us to be in. Looking ahead, we have a bond that is going to be on the ballot in November. It would be lovely if we can have safe, secure environment in all of our classrooms, clean air to breathe, temperature control so that it's comfortable and conducive to excellent learning, not needing to have windows and doors open so we can have a safer all over environment for our students. So just thinking ahead, I am concerned about looking at unsafe air quality up here and not knowing how long it's going to take until it clears up. So if you have a mind to it, I really suggest you take a serious look at the bond that we'll have on the ballot in November and realize that if we had air in our classroom, air conditioning in our classroom, we'd be able to be scrubbing it and being able to have a better environment for our students and our staff. So there's one other thing that I did want to mention that is totally not related to what we have going on here. A RIM alumni, gentleman by the name of Noah Bard. Many of you know him. He is the sweetest, most amazing RIM graduate. He was a part of our special RSDC class. He graduated, I think, last year. He is in current need of a heart transplant. And so there was a fundraiser that's ongoing, being held for him to help for additional expenses associated with this procedure that might be happening at any time. If you have it in you, there are various businesses, including How Money Works, that's in Crestline that are accepting donations to be able to go directly to the family. Noah is the unofficial ambassador of Crestline. You go in and pick up your mail at the post office, and he is there to greet you, to give you a hug and say hi. He is lovely, and he brightens everybody's day. So if you have it in you, I suggest you, I wanted to have specific information for donating, but the flyer I had for last weekend did not have specific information. So please be on the lookout for it and help give for Noah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. Cindy, please.
So I do want to reiterate what Jordana said in terms of Mr. Wilmsey. Mr. Wilmsey, in his communication with Mr. Hansen and Dr. Siviano, and just looking day by day, what are the changes? Because as you know, every day was different. I mean, one day I was like, oh, blue sky, very minimal snow. Yeah, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna go grocery shopping. And then today I woke up and you swore that the fog rolled in and it stinks and your throat's hurting and your eyes are burning and it's really a day by day situation. So I appreciate all of Mr. Williamsey, who's evacuated and off of the mountain and has that worry with all of his kids, and still being a principal, still being a leader of the school, still making sure that he's checking in with people, that he's doing the evaluation on a daily basis of the activities of the school. So I appreciate all of that effort in working with the district while he's under evacuation. I just want to stress that because it is stressful. And I just appreciate him so much in his leadership. As we go through the evacuation and we have the new law that states that after 5 days, you create a learning plan, communicate it out, and then execute it after 10 days with a short-term independent study, that as we're the guinea pigs of this new law, we're realizing some challenges. Some of our kids in the evacuation, they didn't take their school books. They didn't take their Chromebooks. They literally left with a suitcase and their animals and their parents. And we're realizing they're all over the place. Yes, I have seen awesome Disneyland pictures, but that's not the point. But it's just the fact that in looking at this law and what needs to be addressed, that were really unforeseen by legislators. Chris Reef at CSBA asks for feedback on these laws all the time so that they can give them to legislators about the impact of their bills that have been passed. So I'm hoping to work with Dr. Civiano that we can make a list of the challenges that we have faced, including kids not being able evacuating without materials, and how do we get them the materials to continue learning, that we can put together feedback and give it to CSBA and Senator Ochoa and Assemblymember Lackey and say, there's some challenges with this law. Can we modify this? Because this is not going to work in case of fires. So hopefully we can work on something like that so we can give CSBA the feedback, since we're going to be a guinea pig, we might as well take advantage of it. I do want to give another shout out to our football teams playing Big Bear. He gave me a heart attack, varsity, the last minutes of the game. I'm selling popcorn and I'm like, what's the score? What's the score? Like, please do not let me walk out of here with a loss. And I was so grateful that the kids, our student athletes pulled it together. That last drive was methodical, it was cohesive, it was well executed, and it was a pleasure to watch that last drive. And it was great to be able to be called King of the Mountains. And thank you to coaches, to parents, to everybody that collectively made that happen for JV as well as varsity. But no more heart attacks, please God, no. I did go to all the back to school nights except one VOE before the evacuation. I did work certain ones, like I worked MPH Book Fair, so if I wasn't in classroom, sorry. At LAE, if you went to LAE, I was the actual cubby greeting everybody. I wore the suit, I wore the mascot, so there I was. It was super fun though. It was way fun getting hugs from little kids. So thank you to every single school that really put together a wonderful back to school night, and the teachers, because walking in the classrooms for CHE, just listening to what is done in the classroom is just so inspiring. I mean, I'm just going to pick one. Sorry, all of you are awesome. But Mrs. Armelini, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I love it's comprehensive. It's engaging. I want to be here. I want to be in this classroom. And every teacher was like that. And I just appreciate how much is put into the lesson designs and creating an engaging classroom. I mean, some of the stuff was killing me with the little kids on, if I had $1 million, what would I do with it? The little write-in. And one has said, I would give it to charity. I'm like, oh my gosh. So thank you to all of the teachers for doing such a great job in educating our kids and putting together a great learning environment. Again, the bond. Going into those classrooms, it's awful. It's just awful. It's hideous. And I just have to say is that we cannot change that. No matter how much we want to save every single year, a couple $100,000, we aren't going to change that without a bond. And I know there are people that have come up to me and said, well, go get grants. The grants that are offered out there are really about upgrading your existing system to be more energy efficient. Well, we don't have a system to upgrade. Having roofs. I know there's leaks at CHE. I know there's a leak in LAE before kindergarten rooms. I know that. We know how much it costs. We know how much a generator will cost to put into LAE, to upgrade the generator system at VOE. We know, and it's cost prohibitive unless we get this bond. Safety, comfort, and if our teachers are busting their butts to create these learning environments, then we need to make sure the learning environment is comfortable for all, for the students and for the employees. And the last thing is I want to thank everybody that has reached out to me from other districts asking if we're okay and if we need help. Redlands, board member from Redlands, reached out to not only to ask us how we were doing, but what were we gonna do? They wanted to know what we were doing first. So when you talk about leading the way, Mr. Gerardo, there you go. Also had a former superintendent, Clint Harwick, if you remember him, reach out. He's thinking of us, he's giving us our best, and if any way he can help, he would love to do so. Had Callie Binks from Yucaipa, Cali Mesa reach out and ask how we were doing and what we were doing. And it's been so great to have fellow school board members from Silver Valley, from Hesperia, from X Central, reaching out and saying, how are you guys doing? What, are you guys okay? Let us know. The county office individuals that have reached out to me that have said, you know, here's my phone number, give it to your superintendent. And if you need anything, let us know. So I just appreciate the whole educational community of this state reaching out to those that are imperiled and saying, we are thinking of you and we're here for you. Let us know how we can help. And I just thought it was very touching to have that kind of support of fellow school districts. So that's it. And I just want to say, stay safe, stay sane. My husband's driving me nuts, so I'm just feeling relief. But do what you can for yourself, for self-care as we go through this, because every day is different. Every day smells different. So please just be careful out there. Thanks.
Thank you, Cindy. Bill?
I'm sure you've all heard the beatitude, blessed are the flexible, for they will not break. And I appreciate that that's what really across our district, our staff, and I mean, really our entire staff, as well as our district leadership. Dr. Sevillano has been great at saying, this is not my first rodeo, but this is his first mountain experience. So just remember that, Dr. Sevillano. And I say that because I think that my appreciation needs to go to Dr. Sevillano on the way he is leading our district at this time, helping us to even make decisions like changing the opportunity with Mr. Willemse and others to say, look, we're going to go ahead and try to do this football game. Dr. Sevillano is really leading in a way that's trying to say, I'm concerned about everybody. You've heard that in his communications. I don't know, by the way, how you got this one out at 4:18 when you were meeting with us. But the newest communication goes out again talking about safety and is concerned. But there's something in there that I want to highlight, and that is the survey that I hope everyone is filling out. And I hope staff's getting the opportunity as well, because it talks about how are we going to address the issues of the future and particularly here. Let's face it, we have our students and our staff have suffered because of loss of time together, not just from the fire, but COVID-19, the blizzard. These are all taking a toll on staff and students. And Dr. Sevillano, thank you for leading us and being concerned about everyone and with the way you're trying to communicate and keep communication coming. And I know you feel like you've already missed some things, and yet thank you. I think there's another word in scripture for such a time as this. And I believe that you are here with us for such a time as this. And so thank you, Dr. Sevillano, for what you're doing and all the ways that you're leading our district. And please do fill out that survey. If you're watching online, the message just went out at 4:18 while we were in a board meeting. Just take note and please fill out that survey, complete it, and communicate, because these are really important times and we've got to take care of our students. I want to say thank you to the firefighters who have had their hands full with 3 major fires in Southern California at the very same time. Not little ones, humongous, from the more than 50,000 acres in the bridge fire to our fire up here, the line fire, which is now, I'm sure, up to 40,000 or close to that acres that have been burned, the airport fire. And to be able to handle all of those, firefighters that put their lives on the line the other night to stop the fires from coming into Running Springs. You realize that we have graduates, we have residents up here that were out there fighting those fires on our behalf. And so for all of those firefighters that are doing that, our neighbors, our graduates, I'm proud of all of you and thankful for the incredibly hard work that our firefighters have been doing. And it's really not just our firefighters, isn't it? It's San Bernardino County Sheriff, it's CHP, it's the Forestry Service. And the list goes on of the emergency personnel. You might not be aware of how much Southern California Edison, Southern California gas workers are out there. Water people, they're out there. They don't get to leave. They're there to make sure water continues to flow to the firefighters. So there are numerous people that are so important. And so thanks to all of them. Really, God bless our firefighters and all of those people who have been evacuated and all of the people that are continue to be afraid of the future and what might happen. We have to do our best to mitigate any learning loss that our students are going to have. And I appreciate the fact that I know our teachers are going to struggle with that. I know our teachers care. And I appreciate that they're going to work to overcome that. And so we as a board will try to do whatever we can to support you in what you do, particularly staff on behalf of the students. One thing that the fire brings up is a good thing, actually. Kept us out of the classrooms when we had a huge heat wave, and so we didn't have to be in there when it was too hot, right, teachers? I guess you can call that a good thing. We desperately need the resources of air conditioning, air purification, and security that our bond potentially provides for us. Dr. Sevillano, Bethany Negersmith, and Jim Zimmer all dealt with the burned out generator and the loss of power at Valley of Enchantment Elementary. Staff did a great job of protecting students in a very tough environment. Those of you who are teachers at VOE know how hard that day was. And I'm sure that in other places in the district that the heat has been intense and has been a challenge for everyone. Even the lunch staff made sure that we had food prepared ahead of time. And so there were choices and options that the students had for a hot lunch or a cold lunch. And I know some word went out that some children had a frozen lunch. Do you know how rumors spread on the mountain? Okay, a cold lunch, which was supposed to be cold, is okay. Not frozen, it wasn't frozen. But I just, again, it points out to me how it's an entire staff of people that have to work in crisis together. It's not just administrators or even just teachers or just coaches. It's all of the people across the board that are working together in this district, in the offices, in plants. And I'm going to miss someone, so I'm not going to keep going. Just want you to know that it's all important, and we all have to work together to mitigate the issues that the students are facing as they're not in class right now, and I'm sure some of them are celebrating that. One of the things that came out of, for me, out of VOE is an issue of communication. I think that we still have to work on how we communicate even better. Well, Dr. Sevillano, you've done an incredible job, so please don't hear this as criticism of you, but we have to do an even better job of getting word out to our parents when crises are taking place. And that's a challenge too. I attended a cell phone meeting this morning in which they were talking about taking cell phones out of schools. And with the recent shooting again, there's fear that people have, and what if I can't communicate with my student? And yet, I just got to remind you, there is great danger in communicating with your child especially during something like a shooting. You don't want your child to have their phone going off when they're hiding from someone. So again, I support our cell phone policy and the smooth way we rolled that out. Dr. Sevillano, again, your wisdom is impressive, and I appreciate you and not having this be your first rodeo. And I also want to say I'm disappointed that we did not get to do time with trustees. I'm also disappointed. I was looking forward to spending a full day at Valley of Enchantment Elementary tomorrow because we were supposed to do dental screening, kindergarten through 5th grade, all across the school district. We have dentists all lined up. Now we can't do that because we're not in session. So that's going to be rescheduled. Pictures have to be rescheduled. There's a lot of work just in getting going again. So thank you to everyone and the work you're going to do. Please don't pass rumors. Thank you.
That will move on to 10.2, the superintendent report, Dr. Paul Sevillano.
Hello, everybody. I'm not so sure I can speak after some of those comments today. Thank you so much for your support. First of all, we want to share that our hearts go out to those families who are impacted by the fire. We do know that our families, our staff, our students have been evacuated to other areas. And we wanted to figure out, this week was going to be about empathy and giving people the space and the time to get safe with their families. And that was how we kind of approached this. And so what we did is we also surveyed to determine kind of how many of our students remain on the mountain. And we have 25% of our students that are off the mountain at this point. Based on our survey, they've been evacuated. And we also have 30% of our staff that is off the mountain as well due to evacuations as well as evacuation warnings. So, wanted to make sure to assess, what are the needs? The other thing that we really looked at was mental health resources for our students and our staff and our families. We provide those out there because we do know it's trauma for our families right now. So I want to thank Ms. Whiteside and her team putting together those resources and getting them in a timely manner to our families. Also, that understanding that there are some new requirements that we're under that require us to think about our next steps. Having attended those emergency management meetings and listening to the firefighters that are out there, the community agencies that are all helping, we have to really think about what is our next step as a district and how do we keep learning at the forefront for some of our students who are also missing some of those opportunities. And the new law requires us on the 5th day to announce a learning continuity plan. And that's a new law required. But I want to just go back to safety for a moment before we get into that too much. We were the first district to announce we're out for the week. And all other districts followed suit. And we, again, Mr. Rardy, you mentioned about, leading the way. RIM did lead the way, and we took the first step, and the other districts didn't follow. We also started to decide, discuss what would our learning continuity plan look like in a timeline to start to roll that out. And I want to credit Jennifer Whiteside and her team for really kind of pulling the resources together, start to look at that, and then also to partner with our staff to start getting input with, what does that look like for us as a district? And is this something that we can do together in order to comply with that new requirement? Because when we miss school days, we also have to apply to get reimbursed for those missed school days. And that law requires us to be able to submit, our plan and how we address those non-school days for students. And unfortunately, that's the way the law is written. So we have to start to think, safety first, security, mental health of our students, and then learning. So, we have started to craft, a kind of an outline of what that would look like, but we still need to engage with our partners, our teachers, our staff, to ensure that it's going to meet the needs of, we get their input, and it's going to meet the needs of our students and our families. And then we have to deal with the logistics of, where students are, We did determine that the survey that about 94% of the students have internet access. Doesn't mean they have a device, but they have access to the internet. So, based on some of that data and also some of our staff look at the data relative to where they are. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. We'll be sharing a general overview tomorrow to families and to staff, just a general overview of our discussions, but not the actual plan, but really here's what we're thinking and here's what the plan would include, some components. But we do have to build that plan still completely, and then we'll be working with our partners to do that. On the 10th day, we're required to implement that plan. And that's called short-term, as Trustee Gardner shared, that short-term independent study. And what that looks like is that there are less restrictions on that. However, if we get to extended school closures and get into the 15th or 16th day, which is the trigger date, is October. So September 23rd is the day we actually have to implement that learning continuity. October 11th is when we're going to have to develop the long-term solutions and implement the asynchronous learning and the Google Classroom. So we're hoping we don't go out that far in terms of the need, but we need to start to prepare. In other districts, we have already started to develop, some outlines of that. Other districts are asking, well, what are you doing? And so they're reaching out to us again, leading the way, RIM leading the way. And so we want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And before we announce a plan, or before that you all have opportunity to weigh in on that. So I want to make sure that you know that there's a lot of moving parts and there's timelines and compliance issues for compliance of that. But our biggest issue is the well-being of our students and staff and the safety of those students. So we'll continue to focus on those elements until we're ready to announce our next steps. And I want to thank the community for partnering with us and understanding that these things are necessary, but at the same time are important that we focus on student learning, continue to focus. And so with that, I don't have anything else. I also want to thank Mr. Hansen for sending out the surveys, gathering the data, working with Mr. Malone on, starting to talk about logistics of how we go about distributing computers to students. We have to start thinking about that as a district. I am praying that we don't have to go that far, but we have to prepare and be out front again and lead the way for our community, as well as for some of our sister school districts who are depending on us to see what we're doing. And I've had a lot of conversations with Bear Valley in particular. Okay. So no rivalry there, right? Okay. So thank you so much for the community, for your support. And I'm glad we made the right decision tonight and to continue to support, the mental health needs of students. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sevillano. With that, we'll move on to 10.3, our legislative reports. Cindy?
Okay, so a couple of updates on some interesting and important pieces of legislation. So Senate Bill 98, which came from Senator Portantino on the enrollment-based funding, Jordan and Jordana. I know you guys love this bill. This bill was changed a lot, is now a study bill. That means that they're going to take a look at the effect of changing from average daily attendance to enrollment-based. The biggest concern that CSBA and all of us should have had is that in the original bill, it said, okay, all the extra money that you get with any kind of formula change, 60% of that new money would have to be allocated to reducing and addressing chronic absenteeism. That becomes categorical. That restricts your ability as a district to do the best for your district. It's like, really, you're gonna change enrollment, the way we're funding, but you're gonna put a caveat on that? Are you kidding me? I mean, hello, like maybe you should ask. So this bill now has become a study bill. they'll be able to see what the effects are. CSBA has been actively pushing back and been active in getting this to the point where there's a reset, let's look, let's slow down, kind of thing. It has moved to the governor's desk, but now it is a study bill. Regarding board governance, Assembly Bill 1917, which is the school board trainings, that's dead. The big, huge issue with that is because the bill allowed for anybody and their mother to come train a board on how to do their job. And so you're like, okay, maybe not. And I'm, well, I was gonna say something naughty, but I'm not. I need to filter. So anyways, and it also put into the mix, the Department of Education having a say in your local governing board training. I just want to put it out there that every single board member here has received training from the CSBA, new board member training. Everyone has gone through Masters of Governance training, and we go every single year to the AEC conference, the CSBA conference, where we learn a lot. So we're doing our job. Our district is doing its job. We didn't need to be told. So look at I'm sort of sassy today. Okay, so Assembly Bill 3216, which has to do with cell phones, that did pass the legislation and is on the governor's desk, and that requires that every district restrict or bans the use of cell phones in schools. The Senate Bill 897, which is a district of choice program, it really doesn't affect us because we don't have really close neighboring school districts that would, just saying, unless it's Big Bear, but then we are king of the mountain, so just saying. So this would remove the sunset for district of choice program. So those kids that want to go to a separate, not the district they live in, they can do so. And then there's no cap. That was another issue, is you cap the amount of transfers.
I have a question about that one.
Yes.
What about virtual in terms of it not being a geography issue?
Does not address that. You see, it has to do with enrollment, so I'm sure that it has to do with transfers. I'm sure that plays into it. But it also, the part of the requirement is that the county inform the district of choice, LEA, when it has reached its statutory enrollment cap. So there's that whole piece of making sure that the counties are communicating with each other when the kids are going and coming. Does that make sense? Okay. Facilities. I thought I'd bring this up for Ginny and Jim. We have SB 956 design bill. So that has been signed into law on August 19th. That bill makes permanent the authority of LEAs to utilize design build contracts for construction projects that are in excess of $1 million with approval of the governing board of the school district. So yay us. All right, then we have one that is the Assembly Bill 2245, giving ROP CTE teachers permanent status. That has passed the legislation and it's on the governor's desk for signing. By the way, the governor has till September 30th to sign or veto bills. If he does nothing, those bills become automatic law. But this would, if he signs it, it allows for the ROP, we call CTE, career technical educated teachers after 2 years of consecutive service for an LEA, they're considered permanent employees. So change in their status. The one that Mr. Hansen was interested about, AB 2901, paid disability and parental leave. This is the bill that would have required LEAs to provide up to 14 weeks of paid leave for employees experiencing pregnancy, miscarriage, childbirth, or termination of pregnancy or recover. This was an addition to what is already in contract language. So it's 14 weeks above and beyond. So that bill is dead. The author pulled it. Ethnic studies, AB 2918, it really doesn't apply to us because we're done the process, but this bill would change the way that you go through the process. So those districts that haven't started or haven't completed all of the process, including the materials, they have another layer and make it more complicated, which kind of freaks some people out on the legislative committee that had not been through that process. So we're super excited to check that off. Yay, Miss Bennett. And then Senate Bill 1244, this would create a process that if your school district has a community college in your school district, right? And that's your home community college, and they're just not cooperating with you in putting together dual enrollment. This now allows for a school district to go, well, we're just gonna go ask this community college over here in a different district. This would allow a school district to now go somewhere else to make the dual enrollment agreements, which gives a lot more flexibility to school district. Again, for us, so far away, it's a little bit problematic creating concurrent and dual enrollments, but we tried. And then this is a big win. SB 1315, the amount of reports. Yes, it's on the governor's desk. We are asking, since there's hundreds of reports that are required for pieces of legislation, for LCAP, for everything. And there's literally maybe 5 of you that can do these, that CSB is asking, you know what? We're gonna make the CDE, the Department of Education, compile a list of all the required reports. And then anytime there's someone who wants to, and try to consolidate those reports to make sure that maybe all these can meet requirements of the different pieces of legislation. And any other further pieces of legislation, pick from the list which accountability plan you want to choose. So this bill, we're super excited. It's reached the governor's desk. It's not that big of a deal. 3 bills that we voted to support: Senator Cho Bill 1410, algebra for 8th graders, is on the governor's desk. 1411, the Instructional Quality Commission, which would nominate 2 faculty from the California Public Institution of Higher Education. That's on the governor's desk. And then 1412 that says, yay, we're going to add some people, but guess what? To be on the Instructional Quality Commission, which evaluates the curriculum, it can't be from one of the publishers or vendors that service the school district. So it forbids them from being on that commission, conflict of interest. So those are on the governor's desk. So we're excited about some of them, really excited. Does anybody have a question? I do want to put together a list of the challenges for that law to give it as feedback to our state senator, assembly member, and CSBA is saying, did you think about this when you have 15 minutes to evacuate? Are you really going to remember your textbooks and your phone book? The answer would be no, because I got to get my cat. The same, my kitty is important. I know, I gotta see my cat. All right, that's it.
I'm in agreement that we need to provide that feedback. I think that would be a good piece of advocacy work. And I know that the senator has already asked us if we have ideas for the next legislative session, that we ought to start compiling those now, and can work with Spencer over at Senator Bobo's office to start working on crafting some of those legislation. Maybe there's an amendment that can be done to that bill. I'll also note, we talked about it last time, but SB 1429, that was the bill. So Dr. Sevillano mentioned this evening that due to the wildfires and our schools being closed, we can submit to the state for an attendance waiver to get reimbursed for those days that are missed. It is of no fault of our district, and it is of no fault of our staff or students that we miss those days, and therefore we still need to pay everyone. We still need to keep our facilities running. We still have work to do. So we ought to get reimbursed for that. That existing ed code law covers wildfires in there. It says very explicitly, if you are impacted by a wildfire and your school's closed, you can submit for reimbursement. One thing that is not in ed code is if you are impacted by severe snowstorms, that is not included in ed code. So under ed code, if you submit for reimbursement because of snowstorms, that's not possible today. You have to find other means to submit. What other ways was our community impacted aside from snow, and try to find a workaround to get reimbursed. SB 1429 was written by Senator Ochobo and our district to amend that ed code to add snowstorms as an eligible means to get reimbursed. That I'm also pleased to share is on the governor's desk. So we're really excited to see that piece of legislation. It's a testament to our district to be able to work from an advocacy perspective, to work closely with our legislators to not only write bills, but get them on the governor's desk. That is very difficult to do. I don't know many districts that are sponsoring legislation like RIM. So again, another example of leading the way for tonight. Thank you very much, Trustee Garden. With that, I'm very excited to move on to 10.4, our student representative report, Ethan Smith from the World High School. I'll turn it over to you.
I've been wanting to clear my throat for the past 10 minutes, so I will do that now. Andrew? I'll also take it through the water. Thank you. All right, let's get into the school report. So this is from all schools, elementary to high school. We will start with our elementary schools. That is not what I wanted to see. There you go. All right. So VOE has partnered with Vertec and our local Lions Club to raise recycling awareness and support our Early Act groups. All classrooms are collecting cans and bottles. Our 4th grade Early Act members oversee collection and pull the tabs for the Ronald McDonald House charity. Share your support, pull your tabs, and send them to VOE. For CHE, we have 3. On August 21st, CHE achieved a milestone with 100% attendance across the school, the entire school. Wow. To celebrate this remarkable accomplishment, every classroom enjoyed a popcorn party. I have never, ever seen 100% attendance. Ever. That is crazy. Our Step It Up fundraiser, which ran from August 20th to September 3rd, was a tremendous success. Thanks to the support of our community, we raised an impressive $21,720.50. This generous amount will fund exciting field trips for each grade level throughout the school community, throughout the school year. Our annual back to school night on September 5th was a hit. It was wonderful to see our families come together to explore community tables, savor delicious tacos from. I should really read these beforehand. I can't pronounce that, I'm sorry.
Amazing restaurant.
And tour our incredible teachers' classrooms and blooming gardens. LAE. Our back to school night on August 6th was well attended, and we had many community organizations join us. Many of our LAE staff are participating in the Orton Gillingham training, and we have heard wonderful success stories from those who have been using the program. The first of many PTA fundraisers has concluded. Step It Up, resulting in $18,500 in funds. This fundraiser culminates in a day of awesomeness in which all students participate. Many PTA volunteers came over this summer to beautify our campus, and we are incredibly grateful for the help. Moving on to the middle school. Oh, geez. Oh, I think. There you go. All right. We're on to the middle school, Mary Putnam May. Our back to school night on August 21st was a great success with a fantastic turnout from both parents and students. MPH hosted the first semester behavioral expectations assembly, where we launched the MPH Way, our motto for inspiring positive student behavior. The MPH Way was created by our students, guided by our ASB/leadership teacher, Mrs. Peets. M for Be a Mountain Lion, P for Be Positive, H for Be Honorable, W for Be Welcoming, A for Be Accountable, and Y for Be You. Solution Tree What? Solution Tree Coach visited MPH and met with several teachers, students, and parents to begin our collaboration. MPH is in the process of holding school site council elections, and we are excited to see which nominees will be representing their class this year. MPH teachers have participated in various district trainings, and the feedback has been very positive. MPH is maintaining communications with staff, students, and families during this difficult time for our community. I'm not sure how this thing works. So maybe I'll just put that down. Moving on to Mountain High School. MHS students collectively earned an impressive 77.5 credits in its first month of the 2024 to 2025 school year. Exciting incentives are on the horizon if this outstanding credit number is surpassed, 77.5 credits by the first week of October. RIM Family Services has confirmed a Red Ribbon Week escape room on campus, Stranger Things edition. Stay tuned. That sounds so cool. Youth mental health first aid training for MHS staff and available MHS families tentatively scheduled for early October 2024. Let's hope that goes through. Soar dashing shout outs. MHS students and staff alike are encouraged to lift each other up on exemplary moments. Raffle and incentives awarded at every credit check. There we go. There we go. RIM Virtual Academy. RVA student enrollments have increased by 11% since the beginning of the 2024 to 2025 school year. Student engagement has been on the rise, a 16% increase in student attendance from this time last year. 5 interested RVA 9 to 12 are beginning their enrollment for in-person visual and performing arts classes offered at RIM High School. You may clap now. Youth mental health first aid training for MHS staff and available MHS families tentatively scheduled for early October 2024. Soaring shoutouts are RVA students and staff alike are encouraged to lift each other on exemplary moments by submitting their shout out through a Google form. Raffle and incentives awarded monthly starting in October. I just got deja vu. RIM High School. Yeah. RHS had a wonderful start to the school year. Link Crew is back at RHS. Our Readiness Day hosted over 80% of our incoming freshmen and engaged in team builders and connectedness activities to learn about the RHS campus. In their first game of the season, RHS football played Cross Mountain rival Big Bear High School. The Scots had a huge come from behind to win to beat the Bears 18-14. It was a real hug.
Let's not do that again, though.
No. I believe I was playing goldfish at the time, and I looked back and we were suddenly winning. My heart was racing. RHS began using 5-star students program. Through this program, students can check into events from games to performances to tutoring. Students can earn points for attending events, which can be turned in for RIM gear. We hope to increase student participation in all school events. RHS is implementing its WASC self-study this year. Staff is building our WASC report, and our visit will be on March 15th through 17th. This is how we maintain our accreditation as a school. RHS is maintaining communication with staff, students, and family during these challenging times with the line fire. RHS Scots are staying RIM strong. That was scary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ethan. That was a great first report. I'll also note when we get to our discussion and action items this evening, just know that you're more than welcome to participate in the conversation as the board discusses whatever action item it is, so that you can bring the student voice forward. We'll go ahead and move on to 10.5 personnel services presentation on Cal OSHA compliance. Mr. Chairman.
All right, good evening. So we, this new health plan that, the new Cal-OSHA heat plan that took effect July 23rd, 2024. Came at right at the right time when we had record heat. So, let's just get the ball rolling. So the new standard of heat illness for the Cal-OSHA was for heat illness prevention for indoor places, and applies to all indoor work areas where the temperature equals or exceeds 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And there's different aspects to that. You take into consider the humidity and the heat index, and we'll go into that a little bit. Good. All right, so all school sites have created a heat illness prevention site plan, and we work collaboratively with all the sites to ensure that they are addressing the needs for each of the sites, but also to have a common language across the district. They did a wonderful job of doing that, and they sent it in to us. And it's based on the heat illness prevention site plan. It's based on the Cal-OSHA heat plan that took effect, as I said, July 23rd, 2024. And below is just one of the charts that Room of the World Unified School District refers to. I know our athletics, they go off of CIF, they follow the CIF, but they all are in the same basic area of the heat index that we refer to. So what is Room of the World Unified School District's current state to address heat? Every classroom has at least one of the following, bless you, has at least one of the following: portable AC units, fans, evaporated coolers, and each site received between 1 to 3 6,800 square foot swamp coolers. What is our short-term solution for Room of the World Unified School District? Room of the World Unified School District purchased heat stress tracker for all schools and departments. We actually tested this last week right out here to see what our temperature was. And it was pretty cool looking at the different options that this heat index monitor has. The heat stress tracker, as it calls, the heat stress tracks the heat index, humidity, wind, and the barometric pressure. And the heat index is measured with the National Weather Service heat index. All sites have these and departments. What is our long-term plan? Well, this is a trick question. Not a trick question, a tricky question. First of all, we're going to have a Wi-Fi heat index indicators. So basically every site will have a Wi-Fi heat indicator. So we'll be able to see it from our end, from the district side of it. Jim Zimmer will be heading that up, leading that for the Wi-Fi heat index indicator. So he'll know exactly what the heat index is at every single school within the classrooms along those lines. We will continue to collaborate with all educational stakeholders to ensure the safety of our students and staff. Now.
Wow, you don't want to say it. I will. Bond, B-O-N-D. Wow, what will that do for us?
We're going to find out, Ms. Gardner. School district communication protocol. This is one thing that we talked about earlier in the night about Trustee Mellinger brought it up about the communication protocol between school/district and our educational stakeholders. So all site administrators will communicate with educational stakeholders on any type of emergency that may happen along those lines. If for some reason they lose power like the OE did at that time, the district will communicate out to all educational stakeholders, which are parents, communities, to keep them in the loop of what is going on. And that is a protocol that is communication protocol that is part of their heat index plan. And that would be also a part of the district plan as well going forward. With a lot of other things that will be on the communication protocol is we would like for it to come out from the site, but if the site can't do it, it would be a district communication. So the Room of the World Unified School District financially does not have the means to address these issues that continue to plague ROWUSD and other districts like ours who do not have HVAC systems within our schools. A lot of our school districts down at the beach do not have HVAC systems.
and other school districts. I know Big Bear has a couple buildings, I believe, have them, but not enough. The state does not provide funding for these facility improvements. A bond is the best way we can address these challenges that our students and staff endure at the beginning of each school year. Any questions?
I would like to add, it isn't just at the beginning of the school year, it also happens on the tail end as well.
Yes.
Communication, can we go back to that?
Yeah.
Is there a time frame that stakeholders should expect to have that communication, and how would they expect to see that communication?
So the communication will go out through our communication platform. We use Parent Square at this time. So, and we're directed towards that particular school. If it's affecting multiple schools, we'll send it to that particular school as well, to those two schools as well. So in this case, let's use VOE as an example. As soon as we find out, the district finds out that there's no power or the communication piece cannot happen at the site level, we will go into the communication from the district level. We want to do that as quickly as possible, but we also want to make sure the information is correct before we send out any information that, so we just need to collaborate and confirm the information that are going out. But timing is the essence.
Do we have a concrete idea of what are the triggers for that communication?
The triggers for that type of communication, losing the power with the sun, with the heat index being so high it was, that's a communication piece. Any type of, if there's a 911 call that is beyond someone, getting hurt on the playground or something like that, those will warrant a district communication as well. Or anytime there's a direct threat to a particular school that is outside of the school. For example, if something is happening in the neighborhood, in the surrounding neighborhood that goes to a lockdown situation or safeguard status, then we'll communicate with the parents at that time.
So, never, just like with the fire, we can't predict when things are going to happen. Is there, and I know that we've been doing a lot of work on our websites, it's something that has been definitely improving incredibly, and we still have ways to go. Is it reasonable for us to expect that there will be details regarding these plans, the triggers, and all of the communication? So will those be on the schools or districts' websites or anything like that?
Yes, so the communication plan will be a part of their site plans to ensure that there's a communication piece on how all stakeholders, educational stakeholders, are communicated to. And I think that's something that we'll be doing on the district side of it, is to have a clear communication plan to send out to all educational stakeholders on the mountain to ensure that they're being communicated to in a timely manner.
And something that's, I know we have that chart, it's not clear to me I know there is a humidity and heat and environment and all sorts of different things. As far as temperature directly, at what point do we start implementing a plan?
So go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add on to your question and provide a response. There are two trigger points for that. At 82 degrees, we have those heat index monitors. And at 82, we're required, when it hits that temperature, to start to look at providing some additional water for students and staff, and to monitor the heat in the building to see if they need some support in that area to cool down. When it gets to 87 degrees, we're hoping it never does, but in some cases it will. We're required to then take a step further and to start to monitor for heat illness of students and staff, provide fluids, extra water, cool down areas for students and staff. So those are some of the things, trigger points, that we're required to implement as part of the plan. And certainly once the plan is up, we can list all those triggers and how we'll do that work. Because it does require us to measure the heat index, which is the combination of temperature and humidity in a room. So as Mr. Hansen was indicating, those triggers allow us to take action in terms of that. So we're monitoring and preventing heat illness for any of our students or staff.
I think it's important to note that all of that was happening at VOE. The staff was doing that and the checking one staff, inclusive of providing cool vests to any student who might have an issue. They were available. Tracy, you're acting like you didn't know that. They were actually making them available. The cold vests that they wear outside what are they called? The people who guard the students at lunchtime.
Noon duties.
The noon duties, thank you. They were actually providing their cool down vests for students if necessary during that day as well.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, going back to as far as the temperatures, anecdotally, I know we were very fortunate this week. We got air conditioning in our house. It's been, I mean, I think it's wonderful. However, like trying to determine various temperatures, and we have several different thermometers and in the same location, but we're seeing a lot of variation. And so not all temperature gauges are the same. And so I suspect that that's something also that we're going to be paying attention to.
Yeah, Trustee Ridland, the device that we bought for, that the district bought for all departments and schools, that is the most accurate thermometer that you could possibly have. And we'll be checking all the rooms that are necessary, like we'll go back over to VOE. We know that the second grade wing gets hotter than most all wings compared to the other schools. Compared to the rest of the school. So that's one of the main places where we monitor, and also over on our special ed side of VOE, that whole area, kindergarten, the main buildings get the hottest. And over at LAE, that one classroom that reflects off the brick wall right into that one classroom, that gets extremely hot. So our principals are, they understand where the hot rooms are at and where we need to address it. And we also have the cool down rooms for the computer labs where they can go into. I know as a former teacher and a wife who is a teacher, they don't like leaving the classroom even when it's 100 degrees. We don't want to get that hot in there, but because everything is right then and there. So our ultimate goal as a district is to ensure that we provide the most comfortable environment for all of our classrooms. And kind of go back on what we've been doing over the last 4 years, we've looked at what would it cost for the HVAC for our district. And 4 years ago, it was $21 million for an HVAC system throughout the whole entire district, because we have to understand that you just can't put an HVAC system in. You have to upgrade the whole electrical throughout the schools. And so that's where a lot of it comes into.
And also the expense of going through concrete or brick. Exactly. It's a complex process, and it's a little bit different from going through drywall and the like.
Yeah, and each school site's health plan is once we get the websites all up and running, we're pretty close to it. They will be available for all parents to see what our plans are. So just another way of communicating out our heat index plans.
Would it be, I'm just thinking for us to maybe have another check-in at a time that you think would be right at a board meeting to say, because this is a process, being able to possibly agendize and say later on in the meeting to have, when would be a reasonable time for us to check back in with where things are at with the process of implementing the heat plan?
I think we could do it next month. I mean, or in November. We've been working on this with sites, and they're ready to implement it. They've actually, the plan has been all looked at, and they're implementing it. We were in the process of implementing it, then the fire came. So it will be, we can check back in November and to allow our principals to meet with their staff to go over the heat index plan with the staff. To ensure that everyone has the proper buy-in along those lines.
Will the websites be updated at that point with the information?
We're pretty close, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it will be.
Additionally, we're gonna have to purchase those Wi-Fi heat index indicators. They're $1,000 a piece.
Yeah.
We'll be strategic about where we put those and how many we need in order to comply with the law. So more information to follow.
And we're, as the district side of it, we're very much aware of the heat that is going on within our schools. We have the conversation all the time. There's multiple conversations that we've had. I grew up in Big Bear. We never started school at the beginning of August. We always started in September. Our buildings were designed to start in September to go to middle in first part of June. Now that we're starting earlier, it's just, we have to have the proper bond passed to ensure that our buildings can catch up to our school calendar year.
Mr. Hanson, are you recommending a September start?
I am not recommending anything along those lines. I'm just stating where I grew up at.
Now, I think it should be noted that some of the cool down rooms at VOE, when all the power went out, were no longer cool down rooms, they were saunas.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I have a sensitive question, and I'm not sure I want anything more than a yes or no. And that is, what methods do we have for schools to communicate with the DO in the event of a power outage? How does a school communicate with the DO when they don't have the ability necessary to communicate?
Well, to answer you, yes. Yes, they have the communication. To elaborate on that, every principal has the direct number to every single person on cabinet. They also, go ahead.
We are also talking that we also have the emergency radios that the bus yard is the hub for emergency services. And so they have, normally we don't bring those emergency radios out till we're doing an earthquake drill or some type of drill. We test them. So then you can probably tell more eloquently, share way more than I can. But then, they could radio directly to the bus yard. The bus yard can radio to us or vice versa, or call us if the cell phones didn't work or if they didn't, they have their power outage. That would, so I think there's about 3 layers that we could get messages out.
I appreciate the answers. I also realize it's like our safety plans. There's not things we want to really publicize. I just want to know that they're in place.
Yes, they're in place. Yes.
Thank you.
It's one thing, as far as fans, excellent. However, it's having been in the classroom and not having a voice that carries, fans are not a good solution in trying to be able to make sure that teachers have the ability to really reach students.
And Trustee Rearland, you brought up a great point. Everything that we put up there in the short term is just a small band-aid for a huge wound that we have. Because having the portable coolers, those allowed. And with the fires, those are tough to use because they bring in the smoke. And so this is just something it just solidifies where Rim of the World Unified School District has to go to ensure that HVAC is put into all buildings.
I just want to note that the heat wave is not just in August, it's extending well into September and even October. So it almost doesn't matter when you start school, before or after Labor Day. It's just the fact it is what it is. It's very hot, longer than it used to ever be.
Yes.
I used to plan campfire nights at Grandview Elementary, and it was flipping cold, cold when we did it the 3rd week of September. We were in our full, winter jackets, and that doesn't happen anymore.
No.
So I'm just putting it out there. Our buildings have to catch up with the reality of what we're experiencing climate-wise.
And Trustee Gardner, I just want to make 100% sure that everyone knows that I am not advocating for a September start. I just want to throw that there. Okay.
I also want to thank everybody because working on this, because I had to do this heat illness plan for our company. And I downloaded the OSHA template because I didn't want to create my own. I just wanted to do fill in the blank, but even fill in the blank was really hard. And the amount of detail that they wanted to have in the plan was exhausting. And we're not even a big company. And I had to do the same plan. And I just want to thank everybody because it is a lot of attention to detail and a lot of redundancy. I have to say. So I just appreciate all of you guys for doing that plan because I didn't like it, so I'm sure nobody else did.
I'll just tack on about, you mentioned $21 million back in 2020 to replace our AC units. That number looks a little bit more now like $24 million. It's a large amount of money, but to put it into context, that's approximately 2/3 of our entire LCFF budget for a year, which is untenable. I believe about 84% of our budget goes to staff salaries and benefits, and the rest of that percentage goes towards everything else it takes to run a district. So the idea of $24 million really makes it so that forces us so that really only the option to get that kind of money is through a bond. So just to contextualize it, very much appreciate the report. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I do want to, as a point of order, just go back to item 8.2, public comments. There was one public comment we missed, and I want to apologize for that. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Smiley, representing Rose, for the topic of donations. So please, I apologize for missing that public comment earlier in our list. You have a full 3 minutes.
Oh, I'm not really sure where to start. My baby was killed by a drunk driver Memorial Day weekend. And I've been finding different ways to memorialize my daughter and create social change. One such way is making memorial benches. And so I wanted to donate memorial benches to the schools up here that she attended or would have attended. So in collaboration with several of you, we came up with a design that was acceptable. We've raised the money. It won't cost the school district anything. We're prepared to proceed with making those donations as soon as we're done here. I can talk about the other stuff I'm doing too. I was hoping everyone wouldn't leave, but if you go to our website, Justice for Rose, there'll be other things that we're doing. Can you say that a little louder?
It's on YouTube, so there's still other people here.
Yeah, oh, good. Justice for Rose is the Facebook page. Hashtag Justice for Rose. There's an Instagram page, Justice for Rose. After we met with the DA after Rose was allegedly murdered, I hold 4 degrees and I have 2 clinical licenses. I'm also in recovery. And now sadly, I have a daughter who was murdered by a drunk driver, allegedly. And so there's really no one more qualified to speak on the topic of drunk driving and drunk driving reform than me. And I was fortunate that because I was willing to knock on every door, I told my ex-wife, you know, I'll move to Sacramento if I have to. I'll camp on the outside the Capitol building if I have to until I get people to hear me, because 90% of what we do for drunk driving doesn't work. Obviously, it doesn't work because every 15 minutes in America, someone gets killed by a drunk driver. So with my education, experience, expertise, and knowledge, I was able to identify what's wrong. And I wrote a plan and I took it to the assemblyman and to the senator. I met with the senator's policy advisor first. The Senator Lackey met with me and he's writing a new law called Rosenda's Law to make drunk driving reform. So I talked to his aide yesterday and said, if we have a Rosenda's Law and I died the next day, then I would have accomplished my life's purpose. Because we go about it all wrong. Drunk drivers, anyone who gets a second DUI is an alcoholic, and alcoholics need treatment. The man who killed my daughter was on his 3rd DUI. And what if he would have gotten the right treatment? And maybe he would have been celebrating 4 years sober in AA instead of drunk driving and allegedly murdering my baby. But other ways to spread the message. It takes macro change with a change in the zeitgeist, which happens at a micro level. So part of what I'm doing is memorializing her and creating a legacy in many ways. And one such way is memorial benches. We have a beautiful bench that we are donating to the animal shelter that's being unveiled on the 28th. And if you'd like to come 9 o'clock in the morning, the 28th, it's a piece of art. It's a $4,500 sculpture. Is what it is. And I'll be making a little speech, and her mom will make a speech, and we gathered a bunch of donations. They actually didn't want our money. We collected money to donate to them. They wanted sheets and blankets and dog toys, and cat toys. And we did a drive, collected donations for them as well. Rose had an affinity for the San Bernardino Animal Shelter, which is why I approached them about memorializing her there. And the director and I kind of hit it off. We started coming up with the plan. My friend of mine, my tattoo artist, his mom does landscaping. They're designing landscaping. They're going to bring in the plants. They're just going to totally redo the whole area where people will be adopting animals. So not only will they be able to scan a QR code and see a beautiful bench about my daughter, it'll be furthering her charitable giving nature, which we're really excited about. But I'm also very excited about getting the benches into the schools so that people can remember my daughter.
Thank you. Dr. Smiley, I want to absolutely thank you for coming out to speak with us tonight. I know it takes a lot of effort to come out here and be here, and I know you're here for a little while. So I just really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Making time to talk with us.
So thank you, Dr. Smith. Thank you. Benches now, are we good? Like, what room? Like, what happened next?
They're on the agenda.
Okay. Do you want me to, should I stick around for the agenda, to talk about it, or am I good, or like, should I stay?
Point of order, it's gonna, point of information, it's pretty far down in the agenda. You are welcome to stay, but don't feel like you need to stay. But it obviously has to be voted on by the board. I don't anticipate any issue with that, Dr. Smiley, but we're sorry, and none of us can understand how much pain you're going through. So thank you for letting us care a little bit.
We have your contact information. What I can do is, as soon as our meeting is ended, I can email you and let you know the outcome of the vote.
We're gonna probably pull it, right? It comes even last. What are you suggesting?
I'm saying the quicker we get through this,
Exactly.
then but we need to stop discussing because we're in public comments.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to not. we need-
Correct. Thank you, Trustee Gardner. Now, as established at the beginning of our meeting, 10.6, our presentation on Charles Hoffman, we pulled that off of our agenda, given our current situation, and we'll have a future report for CHE at a future board meeting. So we'll keep moving forward to 10.7, our last presentation before we jump into our action items for the evening. Business services, presentation of the unaudited actuals and the enrollment report. Jenny Haberlin, Chief Business Official.
Yes. Hello, and thank you very much. I will try to be quick on my presentation. And take a little breath because we all have baby girls, so that was a little bit hard. But anyway, so I think that's what we feel each other's pain. That's one thing we love about this community. So, okay, why are we here today? I'm Jenny Haberlin, Chief Business Official for the school district. Most of you know me. Why are we here, and the purpose of our report? So by ed code, by September 15th of each year, we have to report, and then an action item is on your calendar to approve our unaudited actuals. And, depending on, because of the fire and because of, a lot of times we have a packed house and sometimes not. But I think this is, you all know this probably just as well as I do. The unaudited actuals, is our actual revenue and expenditures, not our budget. So all year leading up into this, we've been talking about our budgeted, amounts, our salaries, our benefits. And then, we're in that, and now we're actually in actuals. So moving forward. Okay, and I apologize for my PowerPoint, the staple went on the wrong side. So it was all of a sudden, I was like, how come I can't turn the page? So we have fiscal practices and protocols that support the district's operation and board goals. We align our budget to the LCAP. Jen and I like Jen the other day said we could be Jen squared. I like that. Find some levity in our day. So aligning the budget and the LCAP. We have to maintain our required 3% reserve for economic uncertainties. We monitor position control. Shannon and Jenny, that's what we do together. So we monitor position control and our staffing to our enrollment and our needs. We continue monthly reporting to the board of trustees. Sometimes it's just a 2-minute report. Sometimes it's a lengthy report like this on cash flow, budget, and student enrollment. And then throughout the year, we continue to review expenditures and working with departments and school sites and administration to address our needs. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't have the budget to address all of our needs that we've had a lot of discussion about this year. In just this meeting with HVAC systems and the heat, carpet and different needs across. We have broken freezers right now. So it's just, there's a lot more need than the state funds a school district for, not just RIM. Okay, the budget reporting cycle. It's kind of a ever evolving. There's certain points throughout the year that we're kind of in 2 fiscal years at the same time. And in May and June, we're working on the enacted budget for the next year, but then we start closing the books. So really since June up until now, we've been working in 2 years. We're closing the prior fiscal year 23-24, but we're also, gearing up for the new fiscal year. And that's where we're at right now in September. Our first interim reporting is in December. Okay, by then we've closed the books, we've posted any new revenues, we've made any changes with the state enacted budget. We've reconciled personnel and position control to actual enrollment, because remember our budget right now, we put together in May and June. So as soon as we're done closing the books, we start adjusting it for reality. And sometimes the state has made changes. And then different maybe board directions, maybe we will have carryover of funds. That's a different slide. We'll start posting that carryover and sites are anxiously awaiting their carryover, maybe because of, maybe a 2-year plan on expenditures. Brings us into March and our second interim report. At that time, we'll have the governor's proposal for the next year. We start working on our multi-year projections. We review fiscal solvency, we review enrollment for the next year. And then we're right back in May, June with the May revise and the LCAP and budget adoptions. So it's kind of a living document and kind of a circle of continuous circle of reports, and each of them have a different significance for and code requirements. Okay, I won't read this word for word, but what are the unaudited actuals? Every school district, public school district and charter school actually in the state of California prepare an unaudited actual report, revenues, expenditures, and fund balance. It's required by law. And we all use similar reporting application that's called SACS, the Standardized Account Code Structure. So this big report that looks kind of messy, every school district in California is preparing the same type of report. And that's so we can compare, and then we're doing uniform accounting throughout the school districts in California. Okay, so look back at one of the driving forces of our budget is LCFF. We just briefly talked about that. And LCFF, the starting point of LCFF is enrollment. enrollment, ADA, average daily attendance, derives from enrollment, of course. And then, we have some, other components with our unduplicated count to that. But when you look at our CBEDS number for 20, and you can see the trend of our declining enrollment throughout the years. So 23-24 is our certified number that gets CBEDS Day in October. So this is a point in time. And then moving from 23-24, we have our projections that we worked on. This was May and June's number. Okay, so we haven't trued this up yet, to what actually students arrived in August and September. And you can see, kind of as we project our student enrollment, that's really the basis. We have our staffing that we need to base on enrollment. And then our major source of revenue is, enrollment's the starting component of that calculation. And just a little graph picture of worth 1,000 words, kind of in that same data. But one of the things I want to skip forward, then I'll go back. This was enrollment as of last Friday. So last Friday, I pulled the enrollment out of our student database. And you can see that's 2,882. In May, though, we were budgeting 2,857. Oh, so I'm sorry, 2,818. So we already have a budget adjustment for our enrollment. Then that'll translate into attendance, which will translate into our LCFF revenue. So that's kind of the normal housekeeping that we do this type of year after we close the books, and then comes the budget adjustments. So I'll skip back to that.
So what is the CBEDS date?
It's the first Wednesday in October.
Right after we get back to the reservation.
So yes, there's actually, maybe we can look at this. I don't want to get off track too much, but a couple years ago, we actually went back to maybe early 2000s, and there's been significant events, state level, regional, and national level with snows, fires, earthquakes, the closure of what was it? The Air Force Base in San Bernardino. Norton. So we've had the huge spike in gas. We have seen some enrollment decline that kind of followed along some incidents nationwide, statewide, or even just locally, with 330, that which should be a concern of ours. With how long 330 will shut down. I don't want to hijack this meeting, but things like that, it's definitely, Jordana, we're already thinking the same, like, okay, what's going to happen after this? So I did highlight some of our highest class levels of enrollment, because as you go back to our, this is slide after, sorry. So you can see when we project our total LCFF, there is some natural declines because of some higher classes that will be graduating and some of our lower classes coming in behind it. So even if we had flat enrollment with, and maybe our enrollment decline isn't as steep, we're going to have some natural declines possibly just based on higher graduating class coming in. So that's one of the things we do look at, because we can start having the conversations like with the high school. Does your enrollment look pretty flat over the next 3 years, or when does your ninth grade class really take a dip, or are you going to have that spike? So we use this to kind of also have those type of conversations. Okay, this was the screen that I thought was before it. So you can see too, that this is the components of our LCFF revenue back to 2013-14. This slide's been in all of my presentations, and that's really when LCFF was enacted into law, was the 13-14 school year. And so, as a component of LCFF, that enrollment translates into ADA, and you can see, you know, how our total LCFF kind of ebbs and flows throughout that, basically flat. And the 24-25. Now, we also saw that we have an increase in enrollment to what we projected in June. So that's one of the things I will go back and I'll recalculate our total LCFF and make that budget adjustment. So perhaps it won't be, you know, $1 million less. I don't know what it is. We're not quite there yet. We just finished closing the books, you know, last week and got that to the county and started working on this presentation. But going forward too, I want to kind of pause on these two slides. Here's a look back at our statutory COLA and our actual funded COLA. And you can see in 2022-23, we had a statutory COLA of 6.56, but there was an added amount to the base grant of LCFS, and they called it a super COLA. And so our COLA was 13.26. Last year was 8.22. And this year, 2024-25 is 1.07. But if you look at the actual dollars, because this is just a COLA based on an amount per student, okay, not about to our total. So then if you look at 22, 23, 23, 24, and 24, 25, that actual dollar increase year over year is less than our COLA amount. So when we look at this, what are a district's actual dollars versus just what a stated COLA rate is? And so that's one of the things that we want to look at, especially when there's virtually flat funding or a decline in funding moving forward the next 5 years. Okay, things that impact the budget. Of course, we talk a lot about STRS and PERS. And these are the rates that the employer, REM school district, pays on every dollar of payroll for our employees who are in the PERS and STRS retirement system. And you can see coupled with Social Security, Medicare, a workers' comp, unemployment, you can see how, especially for a classified worker like myself, we can eventually, you know, probably pushing 35, 36, 38% of every dollar is added onto that for just payroll costs. Okay, a look back at actual data. This is just a rundown of the 23-24 of unrestricted and restricted revenue. This year and the last 3 years are going to really, you know, fast forward 5 years from now and looking at trends, we really are going to have to remember that the last 3 years we've been in a COVID environment with a lot of one-time funding. So, you know, having trends of how much of our costs were on the unrestricted side versus the restricted side, how much did we spend? We co-funded a lot of normal operation costs with one-time dollars. So that kind of moved an expense from one side of the budget to the other. We also had temporary adds to our budget for one-time expenditures, like to address learning loss, to buy all those fans, to, you know, textbooks, adoptions, Chromebooks, one-to-one. So where that money's not ongoing. So, you know, this year and last year were 2 years that we had an increase in total spending because of and I'm thankful for it, but it also has its own kind of curse at the same time because of being able to sustain things with one-time dollars when you kind of get the rug pulled out from under you when those dollars are gone. You know, so to you know, the golden rule is don't buy an ongoing expense with one-time funding for sure. And moving down, this is a horrible slide when you're up there, but this time we spend about 85% of our budget on payroll. But because of the one-time nature of funds and the restricted side of the budget, it does, you know, this year it's about 71%. But if you look at total payroll just compared to LCFF dollars, okay, that's right back up to about 86%. So, you know, and some other of like the lottery and some of the other state revenue. So, if you just looked at, how much of these positions are ongoing and not one time, this is making it look a little bit better because of the amount of one-time dollars. But really, if you took that one-time dollars out, we're right back up to the high 80s in the amount that we're spending of our total budget. Okay, we also increased our ending fund balance. We spent a lot of painstaking time, I have to say, over the summer, but I don't want any sympathy because but looking at what can we fill up the restricted side of the budgets for, Jen's time, cabinet's time, and we sat there and saying, okay, we have these dollars amounts and they expire in June. What qualifies under that expense? And we were just saying, okay, let's transfer this. We don't want to give it back, right? So we ended up having a lot of restricted dollars remaining that we were able to offset general expenses to. And so, that's going to help us because after the COVID and after the one-time dollars, we're back to a deficit spending trend where we're spending more than we're bringing in. So a higher ending balance will kind of help, kind of buy us a little bit of time, to make some decisions, although, it's still not a lot of time. I mean, months instead of weeks, maybe, to start evaluating that. But that's some of the work that we've done over the summer. In addition, when we adopted the budget in June, one of the reasons why we were able to submit an approved budget is because we released everything that was in reserves to make that budget fiscally solvent. I've put that back because of this higher ending balance to then have that conversation again. That's going to be a board conversation in the future, probably at first interim. Do we keep those released? I mean, we want to show kind of more reality, not just to get something passed to the county on, what decisions do we have to make? So that's one of the things, those reserves are not kind of taken away here. So that is just over $14 million. Okay, a little look at unrestricted revenue. And I wanted to point this out a little bit because of what's in the other, which is, about triple what normally is. We've had the sale of the Blue Jay property, which then we co-funded a lot of expenditures with the ESSER $3 to be able to make a transfer to our Fund 40 to pay for the roof for Rim High. Okay, so that's revenue that's not ongoing. And we had, with interest rates so high, the county treasury pool, which is our bank, is doing very well. If anybody has that in their portfolio, I don't know, but it's doing very, very well. And so I have another slide on the increase in interest revenue alone. But we also have all this one-time money that was in there that's, temporary. So the ongoing interest revenue will taper down as we kind of get these one-time funds spent. Okay, this is just, you can look at this and probably not till staff is back, but we put these presentations on our website under business services. So you can't look at, if you can't see that, that's just our graph of the percent of the budget, unrestricted and restricted combined, and the different categories, retiree benefits, books and supplies, admin salaries, teacher salaries, aide salaries, etc.
Where's transportation on this?
Transportation is not isolated, it's embedded in classified supplies and supervisors. So those would be embedded in classified support salaries. I can always run a report for each department specifically too.
And that's how much is transportation running at now, 1 point?
Well,
including, sorry.
Including special ed transportation, we're probably running close to $2 million a year.
Okay.
So I can pull that.
It doesn't have to be 100%. I know that everything is increasing, so just being cognizant of the cost of transportation increase.
So this is the first year that we're getting reimbursed for some of our $76,000 actually of our transportation costs, because we finally went over that 65%. With the new law, the state said that they will fund transportation up to 65% of your costs. But deducting the amount of your LCFF that is the transportation add-on, okay? So we had never met that threshold until this year, where 65% of our costs are actually $76,000 higher than our LCFF add-on. So we've gotten that back. So, I mean, there was 2 districts in San Bernardino County who did not get new transportation funding. And we were one of them.
Wow, what an honor.
Yeah.
And where is transportation in this?
Transportation is embedded
But in several?
in several
Okay,
books,
thanks.
supplies, classified supports, classified management. But if, what I do after we close the books, I have a snapshot that I'll provide for the board that highlights maintenance, special ed, and transportation and enrollment. So when that's done, that'll be in your board folder. Okay, our components of ending fund balance are 3% reserve for economic uncertainties. We have to hold mandatory reserves back for like our revolving cash account and inventory. We have one more year in the 24-25 school year for STRS Golden Handshake payments. We had some things that have been sitting on the books for years and years, to be honest. When in 2010 and 11, I believe, when districts were able to sweep Fund 14, and our forest reserve, that's being held in reserve. When Grandview insurance proceeds, when we kind of bought that claim out because we're not at the school when we had all that flood damage. We get Medi-Cal costs that we hold back, and we use that to offset health services. With the sale of the Blue Jay building, we had set aside in reserves matching amounts for COPS grants. We had set aside technology and voice over IP for our phone systems. Depending on these are things that you can get released if we have other means to pay for them. These, we wouldn't need to hold these back in Fund 1. And then we have some things that are budgeted in the last fiscal year, 23-24, that because of timelines, when we do construction, we have to that if that work's not done before June 30th, or the products aren't received before June 30th, we have to kind of transfer that money over because we're going to have to pay that bill in the new fiscal year. So those, the last 2 are just that process, which is routine. We have that every year. And so that is what the 14,951,842, which will be carrying us over to our next fiscal year, and largely absorbing our debt deficit spending. Multi-year projection does not accompany the unaudited actuals, but we are working on those because we'll need to be working on those together as we make some decisions in the next couple months. Okay, other funds that are included in this document are things like our cafeteria fund. We now have to report ASB activity in our financials. We post that kind of in lump sums at the end of the year. We have the small tiny amounts that are in our Fund 14 that's mostly been accumulated interest. Our special reserve Fund 40, that is where the proceeds of Blue Jay and our ESSER funds, we were able to relieve, we didn't transfer ESSER funds, but we were able to pay for things and transfer expenditures around to relieve money to be able to transfer into Fund 40. You can see that we had a little bit of money still in our Measure W account. We went ahead and charged some work that Jim has done, and actually there's the $39 that will that's just how some interest came out when we finally closed the books. We had about $39 left. Our capital facilities fund, which is developer fees, our school facility funds, which was our matching funds. That is our tree and generator money that we got from at the old fire that we still use to address dead and dying trees. So because we, especially with the bark beetles, there's still a little bit of residual money left. And then we did have years ago, before I was in our position and most of us were here, we had an adult ed program and we had a First Five program. And at this point, we do have some dollars on the books. Each year we kind of say, well, we should probably just spend something adult ed related or spend something child development related. But depending on if we ever instituted those programs again, these would be the funds that would go into it. And that's just got some residual balances that have been sitting on the books for 10, 12 years. Okay, our restricted funds, grants and awards carry over to 24-25. So unspent dollars from our restricted grants and awards that will be part of that posting of carryover dollars. We still have some one-time dollars that are quite high in here to spend. So, and we have some three that have expenditure deadlines by September 30th. So depending, I know it's hard because we have a stall now in September where we would probably normally be getting some work done on purchasing some of these. But then we have things like our arts and music in schools, Prop 28. We have a large amount of the learning recovery block grant that will make a plan and I think by December and spend the remaining of those funds this year. We have some things like donations. That's mostly ROP donations from our endowment we received. And we still have the ESSER 3 learning loss, and that's what I highlighted in yellow. We have a deadline to spend that in September 30th. And we'll meet that because that's paid for a lot of purchases over the summer with training materials and teacher materials and training. So we purposely charged what we could and we're strategic in the amount that we would carry over. So that is, I think all of it except a couple are one time in nature and aren't an ongoing source of funds for us. Okay, so major saving and utilization of restricted funds, on a one-time basis, we had interest revenue that we received $560,000 more than we originally budgeted. We adjusted for that at budget development and our second interim, but we still had some more come in over that. We had an unrestricted lottery revenue increase. The prior year direction where we were sweeping 3 million of the discretionary block grants and learning recovery as part of our budget revisions for employee settlements. We swept those funds at closing. We utilized the remaining universal pre-K so the TK aides and teachers didn't come from the general fund. This will be the last year this year. And then we used, like I already said in the beginning of the presentation, any expiring dollars of COVID dollars allow. We offset teacher aides, counseling custodians, health services, CWA, library techs, anywhere that qualified. We kind of looked for expenditures we can charge to the expiring funds. And we did charge some expenditures as allowed to the learning recovery block grant. Okay. I talked fast, sorry. Moving forward, districts like us, have significant changes, mostly from our COVID-19 fund. I kind of already talked about some of this. The funds are now expiring, and that does impact our multi-year projections for future years. We have inflation, interest rates, the California economy as a whole. We're looking like we have flat enrollment. We have increase in costs for utilities, PERS, health insurance, low COLAs. We do have, which we talked a little bit about this, just like with the OSHA plan, a statewide trend of increased demands like unfunded mandates. things that we have to pay.
The EV buses.
The EV buses, yes. So
Money.
and my pet peeve is when we see a bill that passed the legislature and they say that there's no fiscal impact. And then we're sitting here going, how are we gonna pay for all these changes? And there's a fiscal impact. We do have an increase in special ed costs, and then, I'm repeating myself, so, deficit spending trends, and then, we do need to look at long-term solutions to maintain our fiscal solvency.
Jenny, in terms of special ed, I think we were, special ed is like 4 million impacting general fund. I know you said that you're gonna give us that information, maybe a little breakdown to us on transportation, special ed, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Are we still sitting around?
Yeah, and it's hard for the 23-24 school year because we were able to use COVID funds for the added services.
Okay.
So it's going to look a little artificially, lower
Decrease.
in for 23-24. What we really need to look at is what we budgeted for 24-25.
Okay.
And that will come as we start having the
The
monthly.
first interim stuff.
We'll start talking about it before the first interim.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm talking about September through October. We'll revise the budget. Our independent auditors are here the first week of October. Depending on what, I guess, the weather and fire does, our first interim will be presented on the December 12th board meeting. We just start kind of at this point just doing routine housekeeping, regular operations. Don't expect kind of a closing to be, this was just a different year with everything that we had to do to fully utilize those funds and not give them back. So, any questions?
Full of unexpected surprises, as you see report time, but a lot of good flags in there.
So we have approximately 280 to 450,000 that may have to go back,
For the, if
that
we don't
can't be
spend it.
spent before the 30th.
Mhm.
And you used the term I'm not aware of, but like it explained, we have posted new revenue.
Pardon me?
You said that by the second interim, you will have posted any new revenue. And I was wondering about what is new revenue?
Yeah,
And I'm joking.
We could get a donation, we could get REMED donations start coming in. There could be a new grant we receive, so there isn't
An
any.
increase in Title I.
And
Not.
we didn't get the decrease to Title I that we were worried about. So, but there'll be, we have estimates that we start with in June. So, to be honest, this is drives me nuts. We get our final allocation for programs like Title I in June, July, and August. So we are closing the books and readjusting our budget off of after the year stuff. Just drives you nuts. So.
We've
It's okay.
we've had adjustments in Title I in February of
We had adjustments
Yeah.
in July.
that's crazy to me. And then we tell the
It's like,
sites,
Jenna, we
guess
need to
what?
talk.
You get 10,000 more dollars to spend, but you have 1 week to figure it out.
In this case, we had already hit our 85%. So, but if we hadn't, we would have been rushing to spend money over the summer because the feds give you till September 30th for programs like that. But we run that risk if after the year's over, they adjust your number and it's higher. I mean, I'm glad it's not lower, but we could get in a pickle to spend dollars quickly.
We've also projected much more deficit due to declining enrollment.
So that'll be a positive
Right.
impact.
Ask a question.
All right.
Am I able to ask a question on the items presented?
Gil wants to ask a question.
Let us go ahead and invite Bill Flores to the conversation.
I just want to know what the increased costs in the special education budget were and the funds that were going to be returning to those funds be allocated towards the sensory rooms that were approved a couple of years ago but never came through?
I can write those questions down. I don't have them off the top of my head. Be able to answer that.
So the increased cost for special ed, and then can any of those funds be for the sensory room?
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a sensory room that was approved for 2 sites, I believe, and there was a proposal on the costs. And those never came through, so I was just going to do that. Jen can probably, is part of the discussion back.
We'll go ahead and take that question for follow-up. Thank you. Any questions? Well, thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate it. All right. 11.0 discussion/action items. 11.1 Superintendent, Room of the World Unified School District Emergency Resolution number 24/25-09.
We need to call Scott.
I'm sorry?
No, we need to call Scott, correct?
No. it's
Oh,
not on the agenda.
no, he's not agendized. Apologies.
But thanks, Sue.
Yes, we'll continue on with 11.1 Superintendent, Room of the World Unified School District Emergency Resolution number 24/25-09. Fiscal impact none. We have a motion.
So moved.
Cindy's our first.
Second.
Bill's our second. Discussion. I want to thank the district administration for just working with our Office of Emergency Management to put together this resolution, or the county, I should say, so to get this resolution put together. It should help a lot, so. With that, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 4-0. 11.2 was moved to earlier in the agenda for our vote, so that we could vote in Ethan Smith as a student representative before he gave his report. So we'll move over that to 11.3 Superintendent Approval of Resolution number 24/25-07. Proposition 2, kindergarten through grade 12 schools and local community college public education facilities modernization, repair, and safety bond act of 2024. Fiscal impact none. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Indeed.
Second.
Cool. Discussion?
Yeah, just a comment, Jordan. Sometimes I'm wondering if when we're making resolutions like this, if there isn't a way to add a more specific connection to our district.
Would you like to amend anything in the current resolution?
Not in this one. But that's more of a, as staff does the resolutions, if we can look for a way. It just seems like there'd be some benefit in communicating. Here's how it benefits our district and why we're supportive of it.
That's something we can look at for future resolutions, some additional language that we could support rationale for this.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? We'll go ahead and call for the vote on this item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 4-0. 11.4 Educational Services, approval of the report and resolution number 24/25-08 for pupil textbook sufficiency and instructional materials compliance for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. Fiscal impact $35,000. Budget source lottery instructional materials. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? With that, I'll call for the votes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 4-0. 11.5 Business Services, approval of resolution number 24/25-6. Extension of waiver of certain procedures for sale of surplus real property, value of enchantment vacant land, fiscal impact none. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this motion?
Yeah, Jenny, could you just kind of summarize what this means for our listeners? Sorry, guys.
So there's government code that regulates how school districts must sell of surplus property. And it is at a public bid, kind of like a construction bid opening. And it doesn't usually yield to being able to market and find and seek buyers out, because you're at the mercy of where you've advertised, you know, how much business you can draw up. And usually you get people trying to buy a piece of property at the, you know, $1 less than the next person who might offer it. Or maybe only $1 more. And so being able to sell a piece of property on the open market, use of a broker, and to find maybe the best fit for a school district and the best use for a school district needs a waiver at the state. Our waiver is expired and we need to renew it because you know, we have not sold this property yet. So we want to be able to enlist our broker to kind of go out and try to find the best buyer and bring options to the board for hopefully a potential sale as soon as possible. But we're going to be asking for a 2.5 year. Typically they're in the waivers are for 2 years, but the timing of it 2.5 years would put us to December like 2026, so a little bit less than 2.5 years to be able to have that time to sell the property.
So our waiver is running out, but we have been trying to sell this
Yes,
property.
our waiver expires September 26th. And why it wasn't September 30th and the 26th is, I don't know, but that was the date.
I think it should be noted, we haven't been sitting waiting for this waiver. We've been really trying to sell the property.
Yes. And unfortunately, you know, we've had some really good potentials that haven't worked, and largely due to the financial climate that the state and nation is in with interest rates and building costs to get a project off the ground.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and call for the vote on this item. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 4-0. 12.0 consent calendar. Do we have any items that we'd like to pull for a separate vote and discussion to take into consideration in agenda item 13.0? I'll give you all a moment to look through, and please let me know which items you might like to pull.
I think it'd be appropriate to pull 23.
12.23.
Please pull 18 and 20.
12.18. 12.20. Other items anyone would like to pull? I see. Well, just confirming. So with that, we'll go ahead and seek a motion for 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6, 12.7, 12.8, 12.9, 12.10, 12.11, 12.12, 12.13, 12.14, 12.15, 12.16, 12.17, 12.19, 12.21, 12.22, 12.24, 12.25, 12.26, 12.27, 12.28. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second, Cindy. Any discussion? Let's go and call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 13.0, items removed from the consent calendar. 12.18. Special services, approval of mountain counseling and training to provide therapy services to all rim of the world schools for students and staff for the 2024-2025 school year, fiscal impact none. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So, discussion.
I need to recuse myself from this vote because I'm on the board for mountain counseling.
Duly noted. Thank you for flagging that. With that, we'll go ahead and call for a vote. All of those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Me?
So with that, motion passes with 3 ayes and 1 abstention. So we move on to 12.20, special services, approval of mountain counseling and training to provide therapy services to Room of the World High School for students and staff of the 2024-2025 school year. Fiscal impact $26,800 from restricted general funds. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Cindy
Second.
seconds. Those are second. Discussion.
I have to recuse myself.
You get another ribbon.
Duly noted. With that, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Motion passes, 3 ayes, 1 abstention. 12.23 business services, approval of donation from the Smiley family for memorial benches to be placed at Charles Hoffman Elementary, Mary Putnam Hank Intermediate, and Room to the World High School. Fiscal impact, none. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Bill?
Second.
Anna? Discussion.
I just wanted this pool to give it personal notice. Dr. Smiley's still here, actually. There's no way that we can truly comfort you for your loss, and especially not bring Rose back. But we can support you in what you're doing to try to get word out there to make a difference. And this helps to do that. And so thanks for being here, and I'm sorry for your pain.
I think in that case, Bill does speak for all of us, and just to know that everything, and did not know Rose, but everything that I've heard about, read, she was absolutely lovely and she was beloved, and she will forever be a part of our district.
Well said. I'll call for the vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Definitely aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously 4-0. Thank you. We'll move to 14.0, governance team future agenda items planning. 14.1, time allotted for the Board of Trustees to request agenda items for future meetings. Do we have anything to add outside of what we have on our government?
Just the November report back to us that Jordana asked for. Just making sure it's on in an official way. Thanks, sister. Oh, my mic was on.
Just confirming anything else? 15.0 future meeting dates, a regular board meeting on October 17th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. here at the district office, 4740 San Lorenzo Way, Crestline, California, 92325, and a regular board meeting on November 21st, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. here at the district office, same address. 16.0 recess to closed session if necessary. It is not necessary, so we moved on to 17.0 adjournment, 17.1 adjourned meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's Bill, second Anna. We'll go ahead and call for the vote on this. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously 4-0. The meeting was adjourned at 8:15 p.m.